Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gray Area.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight.
Let's start in prayer. God, please open my mind to new ideas, possibilities, and perspectives. Give me the ability to discern the truth. Please help me to connect with others despite our differences. Lord, please don't let me lean on my own understanding. We invite you into this conversation, Lord. Have your way.
I'll go right into the introduction. Have you ever thought to yourself, what is God's perspective on my situation? Does it align with His? Introducing the gray area. The gray area is designed to challenge your thinking, as many times you don't realize it, but the way we're raised, the things our parents taught us, school, society, and experience all play a part in how we think and perceive things. Perception is everything. We're both mothers, wives, daughters, friends, ordinary women who love God. Yet our one goal, our one desire is to please Him, integrate His ways and His perspectives into our lives. This is not always easy, especially when we've been programmed to think a certain way. However, God has purposed us to challenge others on their very belief system. Does it align with His? We often try to see things black and white, wrong and right, good and bad, but this thing called grace and love does not allow us to see things so simple. Everyday conversations, discussions, and situations through the lens of God is our prayer. We invite you to listen to our conversations and chime in. Perspective matters. So Tashora is going to set the table for tonight's conversation.
All right. Well, we just want to remind you of a few ground rules that if we want your participation tonight, and if you would like to chime in, don't forget to press *6, and we'll see you in the queue, and then you can add your comment or, just join into the conversation. So tonight we want to switch gears a little bit and talk about time. I know for me, time has always been something, I guess time management has always been something that has been something that I partially, I would say I struggle with, and, how important it is and how time is so important in everything, and how we don't have enough of it, and just the fact that, it seems to correlate with how successful you are as far as, things that you want to accomplish if you set aside time to do certain things. And so today we want to just pose the gray area question is, do you maximize your time, or do you feel that you maximize the time that you are given? How do you use your time, and do you use it to its full potential? So I guess I'll pose the question to Shanae. What do you think? Do you maximize your time?
Definitely not. I think that for me, I am learning how to prioritize things, and I'm learning how to say no. I think that's our biggest mistake that many of us struggle with, is learning to know when to say no, because we can't do everything. And I think part of effective time management is being able to strategically identify and prioritize what has to happen and the things that may have to take a back seat. So, currently that's definitely an area that I'm working on, but I'm learning that the only way it's going to be effective is if I say no, and it's okay to say no. What are your thoughts?
I think definitely. I think saying no is really big when it, your time. But I think, and that's a really big one, because I think you can just keep piling things on your to-do list of things that you have to get done. But sometimes I think even just getting the things that are on your to-do list done, how do we even, I guess for me, the struggle always is that I feel like we have 24 hours, and I wish I had 30. It's never enough time to get things done. Because right now, for me, I think I have taken on a lot of different, what should I call them, ventures, different things. I think I'm in a stage of my life where it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot going on. School's about to start. The structure of our day-to-day is about to start, as well as all the other things. me, I'm in the PTA at the kids' school. I'm very active in my church. We do this podcast weekly. We're full-time moms, and we're full-time. We work full-time. I'm talking about both of us now. It's just, and it keeps on going on. We're wives, so the list keeps going on. And I think the part about it is that how do we, I guess, maximize the time that we have? Because sometimes throughout the day we can easily get distracted, and then we can lose time doing things that we really know that we need to accomplish. So I think I'm just thinking, what's the best way? Like, what are some strategies, I guess, in trying to be more effective and getting things done with the time that we have? I don't know.
I think for me, it's about committing to whatever you say you're going to do and following through with those things. I think one of the biggest things is we say yes to everything, and we give a little here, we give a little there, and nothing ever kind of gets completed. So I think that part of it is the commitment piece, as well as, like I said, prioritizing, because everything can't get done. And, you have to be committed to what you say you're going to do and follow through with it. For me, I like to write things down. And I find that when I don't write things down, it doesn't really happen the way that it should. I don't know if it's a mental thing, actually seeing it, checking it off. It makes, there's this sense of completion. But I definitely think that follow through and commitment is a big part of it, I don't know. Do you do a to-do list?
Yeah. Just like you, that's really, really good, because I think the to-do list for time is just so critical, because it gives you, like you said, that opportunity to focus. You can actually see it. So when you're able to say, okay, I'm going to focus on this and get this done, I think it's really I think that part is good. I think another part, too, to add to the list, sometimes I put times attached to things. So so time attached to time. So now we have a to-do list, but if I say, okay, I need to, I'm only checking email for 30 minutes. I'm not going to check email for hours. You know what I mean? It's 30 minutes that I'm allotting to it. So if that's what I'm doing and a phone call comes in, I can't get distracted by that phone call because I'm checking email for 30 minutes. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think that also helps, too, to put time around our to-do list. So, so we could actually see things getting done. But, yeah, to-do lists are really, 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 really good. So,
but once again, I mentioned it, but I feel my biggest downfall is the fact that I don't follow through. Lately I haven't been consistent with my to-do list. So I think that that's part of the reason why I'm struggling with the time area, because I feel like it's something that has to be a habit. It has to be a pattern or a staple in your everyday life. Whatever you set out to do, it has to be consistent, and it has to be a part of your everyday routine. You can't start something and do it for a week, and then, you're on track, and then you stop doing it,
So how do you think, what do you think is that missing link that stops you from actually following through on something that you said that you wanted to do or you promised to do? Or
That's a really good question. I think it could be laziness. I'll give you this example with me and water. The only time I drink water if it's right in front of my face. I won't make an extra step to go and make a glass at work. I mean, if someone brings it to me or buys it for me, then I'll drink water. And I think it's the same thing with the to-do list. I think something so simple as, taking out a piece of paper and writing is just one extra step. And, I think sometimes I just get caught up in my day-to-day. And I think it's that lack of commitment and follow-through that I was talking about. I think it's my inability to be consistent in that area. And like you said, trying to explore why is something that I probably have to really deeply reflect for myself. But, just to give you a surface answer, I think it could be a component of it that's late. There really is no good reason why I shouldn't be committed to, I've went to a lot of different classes, and they talked about how to set up a to-do list, and, there's your immediate things that you have on your to-do list and things that you're working towards. And, I went to some workshops, and it talks about, like, color coding and days of the week. And it's like all of that stuff is great. But if you don't follow through and actually apply it, then what good is it, So it's like I have the knowledge. It's that extra step of actually doing it, putting it into action. And I think it's the commitment.
Yeah, I could totally identify with, and I'm not that I'm giving either of us any excuses, but I think, in addition to, I don't know if it's all the way lazy, and I just think it's being tired. I think the fact that the full-time job in combination with, children and household chores and hair and homework and all the things and baths and clothes and laundry, it's the endless list of the things that have to get done. Sometimes, I think maybe we prioritize differently, and sometimes those things might come, like the additional things might go to the bottom of the list based on how our priorities go as moms. That's, I'm just looking at me, and I'm not trying to make an excuse at all for time, because I definitely feel like personally I could maximize my time a lot better, but I know the day-to-day of my lifestyle requires so much, and where certain things fall might be different for others, and they might not necessarily understand because of what's on my to-do list or things that has to get done. So it's like everything took a step down after, homework and dinner and laundry, and, so I think for me, I don't know if, I guess, you think about it, but your mind gets kind of lazy when those things, you put those things at the top of your list, So I think it's important. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think that's true. I think that's part of my life. The thing is, it's not going to change, So how do I remain in this stuck place? Because I think the responsibilities are only going to continue. I think that it has to be a point, because when you actually apply it, it helps you organize yourself. You know what I mean? And so it's actually beneficial. It gives you a landscape of, how things should play out. So, in essence, I think that although I understand, like you said, bringing up that point of what prevents me, I still think if I'm able to hold true to it, it could help me in so many different ways. You know what I mean? The organization of just being able to map out your time is like priceless. And I feel like when I actually do it, I don't feel like things are so chaotic, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, see, for me, I guess it works a little bit of both ways, and, everyone keep in mind this is going to be a series about time. So today we just kind of want to open things up. We're opening Pandoras Box when it comes to time. But in a lot of cases for me, I thrive on spontaneity and flexibility, and I know there's certain things that require us to have time management, but I feel like too much of it also takes away from life. So I think that it has to be a balance as well, and I get it. Sometimes my days, I'm like, what did I get accomplished today? But today was still a good day because, I was able to do, I don't know, I was able to, I guess I'll get some things accomplished, or just lay in my bed with, with my children, and watch a movie. Yeah, I didn't get a bunch of things done, but, today, I was able to do that. So I think it has to be a balance, because every day can't just be, list driven, and I don't know. How do you feel about that?
So how do you keep that balance, though? How do you know when you should plan and when you shouldn't? You know what I mean? How do you decide today I'm going to do a list and tomorrow I'm not?
Well, I think just on sometimes I'm just mentally drained, when I go and I push myself, I know the best parts of my day is that morning, after 5, 6 o'clock, I'm like really mentally winding down, Yeah, I can do something that I really, 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 that brings me a lot of joy, that I find joy in doing after that. So, maybe I might, research some labels or write a few sentences in, the book that I'm writing, something that brings me like ultimate. But in the morning, I find that, that's my time to be effective. So during that time, I'll try to be a little bit more structured as far as what I do with my time. And then later on in the evening, I give myself a little bit more wiggle room, and sometimes too, it depends on the day of the week. Today we do gray area, so usually Wednesdays are very, very, very hectic, because that's the day that, we try to do research. Even though we try to say we're going to do it a lot, way in advance, Wednesdays are usually that hectic day. So, you have your days, and then you have your other days where that you can have a little bit more flexibility. But I also think it's self-discipline, And I think we really need to talk a little bit more about how to be successful with our time and get things. And I'm not talking about just like when people see success, everybody thinks about money and how to get money. And no, we're talking about to be happy and accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in the time that you have. So how do we do those things, I guess?
I think you gave a good answer in terms of balance and finding out what pattern works for you. If you're a morning person and you find that you're more productive earlier in the day, maybe that's when you do your to-do list, 8 to 12. Yeah. And then you already know that, like you said, that 5 o'clock is your wind down time, your wind down time. So yeah. I think that that's a strategy in itself, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it varies from person to person, You have to look at when you're your most productive, Some people it could be in the evening, Like you said, for you, it's the morning. So I think that it's so individualized.
So true.
It's something that you have to kind of reflect and look at.
Yeah,
so what would you say tonight's challenge is to our listeners?
I would say, I would say everyone take a good look on how you spend your time, like maybe break it down and see if you are maximizing the time. Are you getting what you set out to do accomplished on a daily basis? If if this is say, okay, today I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, does it actually get done? And maybe next week we kind of talk about why. Why doesn't it get done? Or why does it get done? And maybe we can help each other out and figure out, get all of us to a place where we could actually accomplish what we set out to do each day. So, that's what I'm going to look at this week.
Okay. I think for me, it's continuing on my journey to say no. I find that, before that, I found myself trying to go everywhere. Everything I was invited to, I felt like I had to go. But I'm learning that I'm not effective that way. So, I would encourage and challenge just our listeners to just, think about, is what I'm doing right now necessary? Because I think sometimes we spend our time doing things that are maybe not necessary, and that they're like time fillers, where we could actually be doing something else. And I think that kind of contributes to feeling drained and overwhelmed when we spread ourselves too thin. So my challenge is just really evaluating your day-to-day and looking at what's like, what you could kind of do without. And just trying to, not do without it a day and seeing how you feel. Do you feel more accomplished, or do you just feel less drained? Even feeling less drained is part of the process to managing your time, because we weren't designed or created to be that way.
Very true, very true. We have someone in the queue, so I want to let them in, and then we'll wrap up. Hi, caller.
Hi, good night.
Good evening.
Good evening. My question is, we're going to be talking about time, and I want to know how important is time? What means the meaning of time to you? You know, what importance do you put on time? How valuable it is to you? Because time is something that never comes back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so how do you treat this? So maybe we could continue discussing this next week.
I really like that.
Yeah, that's a really great question.
All right, so maybe we could, you know, give ourselves some time to learn more about the value of time, and then we can come back and discuss it. All right, thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
That actually was one of our questions. Do you think society or the things around us help us to value time?
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
So that's definitely a great question.
And, you know, I think a lot of times, just piggyback off what she said, I think a lot of times, even when we live in the past or like in a regretful, that came to our mind immediately, that we don't even realize that we're wasting time, that, you know, we're wasting time living in a situation that we can't change, you know. So I think, and how valuable time is, you know. So I think that's a really good place to start next week. So I look forward to having that discussion, you know, and that's a good challenge for all of us as we think about next week. You know, how much do we know how important time is? What value do we put on time? And like you said, you know, does society and the things around us affect how we see it? So that's pretty much all I have for tonight.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to tonight's conversation. We ask that you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, The Gray Area Conversation. You can also email us at thegrayareaconversation@gmail.com with your questions or suggestions for future topics. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.